Alright, welcome to a little behind the scenes look into the Flow State film that La Sportiva just posted a couple days ago. First off, just want to say huge thank you to Kevin Osgood for coming to me with this idea and putting in so much work behind the scenes, editing and filming and organizing logistics for this whole project. Additionally, big shout out to La Sportiva for helping to support this, and my coach Al at Class 5 for setting all the crazy blocks that you guys will see, as well as Kinetic and PhysiVantage for helping additionally support the film. Overall, super grateful for all the support and really excited to be able to finally show you guys some behind the scenes clips from the whole video process. We ended up filming, I think, 8 days for this video and then cut it down to just 5 minutes, so we have a lot of extra footage to show you guys, as well as some footage that I took on my own camera from climbing in Joshua Tree and the really long night we did of filming climbing at the Grotto in San Diego. So shout out to the Grotto as well for letting us use their space. If you're in San Diego, definitely check it out. Alright, let's get into some of the behind the scenes footage. So these clips we all shot down at Black's Beach in La Jolla. Kevin and I got there super early before the sun rose and shot some really fun, flowy, kind of parkour-esque movements up on top of the bluff, balancing on the chain, jumping between rocks, doing a little bit of meditation in the canyons, and then we all walked down to the water, which is like a 10 or 15 minute hike down to Black's Beach, which is a super pretty beach. And a buddy, Gage, who has this amazing red camera setup with a water housing. We shot a bunch of footage surfing down at Black's Beach, which is one of my favorite beaches to surf at in San Diego. The waves were clean, but they were pretty tiny, so it was hard to get really crazy clips. Gage's filming was definitely more impressive than my surfing. Just seeing the slow-mo footage off the camera is insane. Like, Gage has shot all around the world and for some pretty high-profile surf movies, so it was really fun to work with him and try and capture kind of the aura of Black's Beach down there. To me, Black's is such a cool place because it feels so remote, but it's really just 15 minutes from like downtown San Diego. But a lot of people shy away from it because it's like a 10-minute hike down a steep trail. Cut. Okay, day two. Day two, we went to La Jolla Cove. You could actually see the cove in the background of some of the surfing clips. La Jolla Cove is a super classic spot in San Diego and has these amazing cliffs and caves that you can go dive and swim around. Normally there's a bunch of kayak tours and people messing around down there, but we went right before the sun went down, so it was a bit more mellow, and it was in the winter, so the water was freezing. Beforehand, Kevin had written out on a storyboard a couple shots that he really wanted to get. He wanted to match like this crazy mantle out of the water with the mantle on the top of Iron Resolution, because we knew that was one of the climbs we were going to try out in Joshua Tree. We ended up filming 2 days down at the cliffs there because the first day the water wasn't super clear and we wanted to get some underwater shots, like doing dynamic movements, which ended up being super tricky to film because I had to let all the air out of my lungs so I would sink and then it could do these moves. But it was kind of fun sequencing and trying to like execute comp style coordination underwater. Third day we went to another canyon called Annie's Canyon and ended up going there right as the sun was setting and got some really fun shots, like jumping around this canyon, really trippy, like a lot of movement. Kevin was really psyched to have all the footage have movement, so he was shooting everything in like 4K 120, and then Gage on the red camera was shooting like 8K 120, which is just insane footage to work with. We just ran around there a bunch and ended up actually lighting up the whole canyon with LED lights, and then also from above. Not much of that footage ended up making it into the film, but it was really cool to be out there and just get creative with, again, like kind of comp style sequences between this canyon, like jumping into this palm press and swinging my feet up, or like 1, 2, 3 stepping across these like pretty big gaps, and the sand was like super slippery obviously, so it felt like I really had to commit to some of these moves. So then I think the next day we shot was in Joshua Tree, which was a super fun day, and I ended up recording a little bit that morning just on my own camera, so I'll throw in some intro shots there, but ended up going out there with Marco and Ollie and Brooke, and then Kevin and his son Declan, who's also on the Class 5 team in San Diego. So we all had a super fun session out there, and Gage was there as well with the red camera. I wanted to go try Iron Resolution that day, but unfortunately the crux move revolves around this pretty hard like right hand move and then bump off this heel hook that's like jammed into this ledge, and my knee at the time was still injured from a rope World Cup in Briançon where I like strained a hamstring. So I tried it a couple times, but ultimately didn't want to push it and hurt my knee more than it already was. Definitely planning a return trip to seek redemption on that thing. Otherwise, it was a really fun day. Here is the rest of that footage. All right, it's 4:30 in the morning, and we're going to Joshua Tree. About to go pick up Marco, and then Brooke, and then Ollie. Then it's like a 3 and a bit hour drive out to Joshua Tree. And we're gonna go try Iron Resolution, which is just super cool. I don't even know what grade it gets anymore, like 12 or 13. For now, driving in the dark montage until a sick bakery that specializes in sourdough. What could be better than that? Got here before the bakery even opened. That's how you know we got an alpine start. Ollie, Marco, Brooke. Bakery was a big success. Only problem was they didn't have an espresso machine, so we'll let them get away with it just this one time because the baked goods are excellent, but come on now, like you gotta have an espresso machine.
At least put some effort into it, you know? Like, try your best.
Okay, only like 70 pounds of gear and snacks in there. Shout out to Kinetic for the extremely ergonomic cod straps. We got the full crew. We have arrived. Gotta maybe set up a rope, try the top out, go full project mode, and then give it some burns from the bottom. This is the climb. Starts here, big thresher move up to this, that thing, and then kind of some hard bump sequences up this rail, and then a pretty technical top out up this slab face with some exposure, but the fall's good. I'll jump back in here because I didn't end up filming much audio after we tried Iron Resolution, but the slab climb right to the left of Iron Resolution was super cool and ended up being really, really fun to climb on with everyone. It's V9, but felt properly hard and revolved around this kind of high step and trusting a couple super bad feet. So Declan cruised it after a couple tries, and then I think I managed to do it second or third try. It was pretty demanding, especially because it was in the sun at that point, so it was pretty warm. The second to last day of filming we did at the Grotto. For this, Al, my coach at Class 5 again, amazing setter and coach, in my opinion, one of the best setters and coaches in the nation. That's kind of ultimately the reason why I moved to San Diego, was to work more with him and help to grow the Class 5 team. Anyways, he set all 3 of these boulders and we went in after hours, so the gym closed at 6, and I think he set from like 3 to 6 and I showed up at 5:30 or something, and we ended up shooting until 2:30 in the morning, which was a pretty epic night. And then the next morning, actually, Marco and I were teaching a clinic at Long Beach Rising, one of the first clinics that we did there. So I slept for 3 hours and then booked it to Long Beach, which is like 2 hours away, to teach the clinic the next day. But overall, that night was so fun. I also shot a fair amount of footage on my own camera from that night, so I'll try and include a lot of that right now. But just to preface that night was probably the most hard climbing I've ever done in a like 6 to 8 hour period. Even though we only were doing 3 climbs, I was repeating every climb like 20 to 30 times basically, to get different angles and get every shot and make sure it was in focus, and then playing around with the different LED lighting and everything. So Jason, another buddy of Kevin's, came in with these massive panel lights, so we had the whole place lit, and then a fog machine, and then we're doing a bunch of takes on every climb, trying to get these different shots, and then again like match it to some of the previous shots we got in Joshua Tree and in La Jolla and surfing and all this crazy stuff, so Kevin could work his magic in the editing room and ultimately splice it all together the way it did. Without further ado, I'll just roll some of the clips from that night. Big shout out to Grotto 2 for letting us use the space and having a crazy cool hold selection and wall setup and everything. Definitely come check them out if you're in the area. Thank you to Al. Once the gym actually closes, we'll get the full light setup going, then we'll get going on 3 super cool boulders. The amount of gear and planning that goes into this is kind of crazy. Gonna hop on a couple warm-up blocks that Marco put up, and then we'll get going on the actual climbs. Okay, update, we're getting ready for number 2, climb number 2. We got another Al masterpiece right here, lighting setup. Gage is controlling the focus of the red camera, but from this dial being projected to the monitor.
Okay.
And of course, gotta have the hazer. It's actually just a super advanced version of this. Boom. We made it. Boulder number 3, 12:02. I'm just gonna walk you through the snacks we've got going on here. Trader Joe's organic cold brew coffee, nitrogen infused with organic espresso. I've never seen cold brew infused with espresso before. Shout out to Trader Joe's. Other top items include dark chocolate covered almonds, Peruvian Inca corn snacks. Tomorrow we wake up, actually that's today, we wake up at 5 a.m. to go to Long Beach to teach the clinic there. Full value weekend.
Ah! Ah!
1, 2, 3, that is the time. Except we're not actually done, but we're done with the climbing, so that's a win. Sometimes the late night sessions just are enjoyable in a whole nother way, but equally as enjoyable. That last climb there with the press to pocket was so hard. It took me like a solid half hour of projecting just to get the first move. And then the last move too was really hard. You had this super bad mono, and then that last volcano at the top is a jug, but it was spun, so the jug part wasn't actually facing down, and I was just gassed from the rest of climbing that night, and it was 2 in the morning. So it honestly was such a good challenge for me, and as I was getting more tired on the climbs, I was also learning them better, so it ended up being a super good execution drill and kind of challenge for myself to see how consistently I could be on these moves, so I could kind of repeat the last move and get a couple different angles of it, and then repeat the first move and do the same thing. So yeah, overall it was a pretty interesting night, definitely one of the more unique climbing experiences I've had. And then the last day we shot at the Wall, which is the home gym of Class 5 climbing. Al built out a backspace there at the Wall, and it's just full of crazy comp climbs. So we didn't film anything in that backspace, but we did on the spray wall, which is in the main gym, which Al also set. So that day was kind of just to get some more filler shots, kind of get some cool warm-up shots and mess around on the slack line. kind of sums it up. We have so much footage, but I don't want to bore you guys with endless B-roll, so I'll try and edit it down. We also had like 3 days where we did voiceover stuff. It was definitely a challenge to figure out the cadence and then kind of match the energy to each of the clips that we were gonna put the voiceover for. So we waited until Kevin had the whole film edited, and then we did a voiceover where I was actually watching the film like on this big monitor in the studio, and then was able to kind of adjust my voice and tempo to the speed of the clips. All right, the sun is going down, so I gotta shift positions real quick. I'm just here in front of my home wall in the Bay Area. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. Let me know what you thought of the film in the comments below. Make sure to go check out the Sportiva YouTube page if you haven't seen the full film already, as well as the Kinetic website and PhysiVantage site. You can use both the codes in the description of this video to get 10% off those products. Can't thank these guys enough for helping to support these sorts of projects. Both PhysiVantage and Kinetic really do make some super solid products, so I would highly recommend picking up some goodies from them.